you go. We're streaming live now, and I think that's it. Unable
So
to stream
we're
live.
on the air then, eh?
Yeah,
I think so. Something is wrong. It says update the streaming key, but I know that I did. So I'm wondering if we're going live. If not, yeah.
I got the warning message that said we were. Did you guys get it too?
I got the warning message. Says we're live. And
Just said on LinkedIn that it went live.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
I see it too. Yep, yeah. There we are. We are live for sure. A little error on the part of Zoom. How unusual for that to happen. But I think if I share the screen right now, you could see that picture that we're talking about. Share screen, and there it is. Okay, share it for a second. You see it? That's the picture that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the one. But there's another one where there's only 2 or 3 people.
So there you go. I mean, they're sitting there like reading a newspaper, eating lunch, smoking cigarettes. I mean, and they're on a beam like it's nothing. And I'm sure that's a posed picture. I'm sure that is a posed picture. But you talk about being at the top of the ladder. And the reason why we're showing that for those people who just joined us right now, and that the reason we're showing that picture is because Wayne mentioned to me that in our industry, that when you get to the top of the ladder, why don't you say the way you said it, Wayne? Because I like the way you said it.
I just think that as you get up the ladder, it gets more demanding, and someone that is, say, more forceful in the industry, they will win the argument.
Yeah, well, what happens, and this is the way I perceive it, when you're doing what we're doing, you're not doing it, you don't go into it and say, man, I'm going to become a millionaire from going into this business. You think about it along the lines of you have a passion for it. And it's the same as being an artist. You have a passion for it. And whenever you get involved in any kind of work where you're doing it because of your soul and your heart and the desire that you want to do it, then people seem to take advantage of you. It's like if you're a performer, people will say to you, hey, listen, I'm having a party at my house. Why don't you bring your guitar and you could play, But I always say that if I was a plumber, they wouldn't say, hey, I'm having a party at my house. Will you bring your tools? Because my toilet is stuffed. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't ask you to do it for free. But they take advantage of you,
The other thing is too, that I always reckon there's many ways to achieve, especially in audio world, there's many ways to achieve the same end result. But if you're comfortable with a certain way of doing it, you like to do it your way because you've learned over the years or whatever that I can get to that end result. That doesn't mean to say that, there's many other ways to do the same end result. And then it just becomes an argument of everyone. Oh, no, we're going to do it that way. We're going to do it that way. I don't know if anyone else thinks the same.
That's always been one of the things that I consider the beauties of this profession, is that there are so many different ways to do it, and they're all right.
And they're all right. Yes.
Yeah. It's unless you get into the situation where this guy is demanding and it's either my way or the highway. And I've been in those situations before as well. And I usually take the highway myself. But anyway, hey, let me just say hello to everybody who's joining us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, SoundBroker.com. We're streaming to SoundBroker.com too these days. Pretty amazing. We're also on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're everywhere, by the way. We're everywhere. So there's no real way to tell how many more people are watching what we're doing, guys, in the room. However, I will say to you that last week, to the best of my knowledge, we had over 70 people watch the video on Facebook alone. And one other thing I could say is our subscriber rate on YouTube is now closing in on 300, which is really, really, really cool. So I want to thank you all, anybody who's watching this, for tuning in. How do you like that, guys? We're doing something that I've never been able to do before. But one thing I will say, I had my birthday last week, and I put up a video on Facebook, and at last time I looked, I had close to 800 people watching me being embarrassed when the people in the restaurant were singing happy birthday to me, which I think is really super embarrassing. It's like everybody, whatever they're doing, they have to stop and start singing happy birthday to you. And you can't run away, you're just right there. Although it might be very funny if somebody did run away, when they started singing or start crying.
So you're semi-viral, huh? Is that it?
Yeah, semi-viral. I would say that, Kenny, you're right. But anyway, let me finish the introduction. So, welcome to the roundtable. This is the 103rd meeting of the roundtable, the Mastermind RoundTable, and I want to thank everybody who supported us this week. Thanks to Michael Brown, we have a Friends of the Roundtable group on LinkedIn, and so if you haven't seen that, you want to join. Go up to LinkedIn, look for the Friends of the Roundtable. That's what it's called. Anyway, the last thing I'll say is everything you hear is an opinion. So, hey, if you have any opinions, just remember, do your own research. Hey, guys, so who wants to say something? And I'm going to mute myself for a second.
Kurt, I'm sorry I never got back to you yet. I had to do a quick trip to Orlando yesterday.
No problem.
So, I haven't been in the office.
Not a problem. Whenever you get around to it.
All right. Hopefully this week.
Okay.
Well, very nice. Very, very nice. There's a lot going on in the world right now. I got to tell you, there is a ton of stuff going on. And so let's just jump right in. The first thing that I want to start off I read this article in Inc. magazine, and basically it's about Warren Buffett, and it's a life lesson. And it says, speaking of what we were just speaking about, Wayne, it's better to hang out with people better than you, pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction. That's Warren Buffett, and that was a quote that we found on Inc. magazine. So that's something that I thought, it's like, that's why this group is so good. Everybody here has got their own status in life, and everybody's at that point right now where we're all up there. For whatever reason, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys could hear it. Hey, can you hear it?
No.
Oh, good. It's only in my head. It's only in my head. That's good.
It was happening before. A little bit of it.
Yeah. Anyway, and so it's like, that it's like the old mastermind group. Here we are again. Andrew Carnegie was the one who coined that term, and so I picked up on it because basically the idea is behind the mastermind group, which it basically is that if you think of a battery for a car, it'll start one car, and if you put multiple batteries together, it'll start the car, but you'll also have more power. You could do more things with it. And that's how I think about with this group, is that, everybody has an interesting way of thinking of things. Where most of the people on the show are very articulate. Most of the people in the room have plenty to offer other people, and I think everyone in this room, the one thing we have in common is I think we all believe ourselves as to be mentors. And that's really a cool thing. And I really love that about you guys. That's one of the reasons why I love coming here every week, even getting up super early, because I'm in Thailand right now, to be able to accomplish that. And so, thanks. That's all I could say. So did you see that story in the news? After finding what they thought was an adorable lost puppy on the side of the road, they found out that defenseless little creature was not so defenseless. It was a coyote.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, be careful what you find there, boys and girls and children of all ages. Also, another thing that speaking of animals, Rich Strike, an 80-1 long shot, wins the Kentucky Derby. Did anybody have any money on that? I mean, if you would have bet that, I bet you would make millions if you would have bet on Rich Strike.
For $1, if you had bet first, second, and third, and fourth, you got
like a canola.
You got $630,000 for $1.
Wow. Yeah, wow. See, Wayne, it pays to be in our business. Oh no, that's a different business. Okay. But you remember we were speaking about artists. I was talking about how artists, do everything for their soul. They don't. So Andy Warhol's been dead now, and his 1964 screen silk of the actress face of Marilyn Monroe. It's called Shot Sage Blue Marilyn. It just sold for almost $200 million at Christie's, making it the highest price ever for an American artist. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Got lots to spend now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. I remember when Andy Warhol was doing it, it was like, peace, love, let's get high, pass the joint, let's get high. It's peace, love, everything peace, love, it was a great time where, people, the Vietnam War was going on and people were smoking pot like crazy and all that stuff. Well, anyway, the reason I bring that up is because Thailand is going to be the first country in Southeast Asia that is going to legalize marijuana, and Thailand, the government, is going to give away 1 million for free cannabis plants to the people of Thailand, which I think is really a generous thing of the government to do. It's pretty cool, but it is for medical use only. So I don't know how they're going to figure out it's medical use or not, but that's what they're doing here. I'm sure that's going to help the concert industry here as well. See how I tied that back into what we do? So going back to government giveaways, millions of Americans now are going to get access to free high-speed internet for no cost, thanks to a partnership program between the federal government and several internet providers. The program is called Affordable Connectivity Program, if you haven't heard about it. It's pretty cool. Basically, what it's going to be is that they're going to be putting a cap on it. So AT&T, Cox, all the major, what's the other cable company in New York? I don't remember. But has anybody in their own marketplace heard that their cable company is going to be doing this? I guess not.
They
Is
don't
this
want
thing on?
They don't want to tell you if anything's free. They want you to have to ask for it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, T-Mobile, which, I happen to be a big fan of, T-Mobile is doing a promotion right now, whereas they want to give you their high-speed internet. And so they've made a decision what they're going to do with this. Is they're going to give you the box. If you want to try their service, they will let you have their box and try it for 2 weeks totally for free while you keep your other service on. And then if you like it, they will pay for you to transfer over to T-Mobile, which they must be pretty positive about how that's going to work. Otherwise, I guess they wouldn't be doing it. But I believe one of our people that had it, I think, Brian from South Carolina, North Carolina, that he tried it and it wasn't working well where he was in his area. You guys remember that? Is my mic on? All right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, a bunch of our friends can't make it today because they are actually working. They are in Nashville, Cavlo. Mike Brown is who is one of our featured panelists who usually gives us our news from Las Vegas and the install business. His Cavlo show is going on, strong. Ken Porter, who's normally with us as well, he's a guest speaker at that show, and I hear it's doing quite well. So my tip of the hat to you guys over there in Nashville. I hope you're getting a lot of benefit out of that show, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it next week. Okay.
Did you ever reveal what Cavlo stands for?
I don't believe he did. I think it could be his mother's name, or he one night he was drunk and he was spelling horse in Spanish and he spelled it wrong. I have no idea.
Probably Commercial Audio Video Lighting Organization or something like that.
Well, that would make sense because we were talking about AVX, I think that other group, and he was saying that was that's one of his competitors, that they do, I think, Infocom, I believe, or they do installs, CTS. Do your own research. I'm not really sure, but he said that they were a competitor of his. So I guess, yeah, that would make sense of what it stands for. It's cool.
Who knows?
So an interesting thing. Let's see. I just staying with the news, I guess. Basically, farewell to the iPod. After 22 years, Apple is stopping production of a device that changed the world. Used to hold up 1,000 songs. I still have an iPod, and I believe David was involved in the iPod business for a while.
Thanks to Kenny Newman.
Once
again, thank you, Kenny Newman.
I did the rollout for Zune. Does that count?
Say that again?
I did the rollout for the Zune with Steve Ballmer.
Oh, really? Tell us about it.
Steve Ballmer got up there and yelled and screamed in the microphone and held up a bunch of Zunes and gave them out to all these VIPs, and that's probably about it.
I never could understand Steve Ballmer, and I guess he did really well for Microsoft because he stayed their CEO for a long, long time. But I never could figure him out, and it always seemed to me that he was missing the boat on everything, and yet Microsoft's just stayed in business somehow. They not only do they stay in business, they seem to prosper. And their stock is higher than Apple's right now.
Wait a minute, they're not worth more than Apple, though.
No, they're not worth more than Apple as a company, but their stock price is higher.
Well, you can't go by that. They split 5-1, right? Or whatever it was.
I guess right now I think it's a good time to, Warren Buffett just bought 600 million shares or $600 million of Apple. So he must believe that it's worth owning. But he didn't. I don't believe he bought Microsoft or Google. Although he does say that he wish he would have bought some Google in the beginning when they came to him, but he didn't. So
I'm spending that one phone charger at a time.
Anchor seems to have that market. The Anchor chargers are really, really cool. I've got one of those. I got one of their new ones that charges things like so fast. And the new I bought that about a year and a half ago. So I'm sure the new technology for phone chargers right now is even more superior than what the Anchor's putting out. They've got this nano charger that's the size of the old Apple, what they used to give when you bought an iPhone, the Apple charger. And now the new nano chargers that they have are far superior, and they pack a much more of a punch and are much quicker chargers. It's kind of interesting that Apple stopped giving away the chargers in their box.
Saving money.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. They say that it was saving money in shipping and packaging. But the reality is, it seems, and also for the ecology.
What they're saying is they're saving the environment. What they're doing is saving money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. Don't know.
Yeah, but Europe is holding their feet to the fire. They're saying you can't do that. So Apple's got to start shipping them out in Europe.
Well, that would mean that they're probably going to do it all over the world. It's hard. I guess I would assume that that's what they're going to do, but I don't know what they're going to do. Transitioning back to our industry, Live Nation just announced record-setting Q1. 70 million tickets sold for 2022. Live Nation shattered records in the first quarter of 2022. It is on track for a pandemic-busting year with more than 70 million tickets already sold for shows during the year. The company announced that in their earnings statement. The company momentum Basically, they're saying that, let's see, pointing to the operating income of 27 million, adjusted operating income of 209 million from last year. So right now they're up to, this year, they're up to $303 million of operating income, which I think is pretty impressive. And that's a lot of shows. And then, you know, so what's coming up? You got Budweiser Brewing Group, the official beer of O2 in London, will be bringing Ukraine's most popular beer to into the humanitarian effort in Ukraine. So they're going to be doing a bunch of concerts in London on the O2. The Scorpions are returning to North America on Rock Believer World Tour with White Snake and a band called Thunder Mother. Austin City Limits is returning. They'll be back in Zilla Park October 7th to 9th and 14th through 16th, headlining Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pink, The Chicks, Casey Musgraves, SZA, Flume, Paramore, Little Nas. You know, Casey Musgraves, I remember when I first heard her, I thought she was, you know, really, really good. She had that song, The Follow Your Arrow. I don't know if you guys know it, but it was like my theme song for a while. I really liked it when nobody really knew who she was. Smashing Pumpkins, Jane's Addiction has joined the dates by Poppy when they're going to do a Spirits of Fire tour in an arena starting. They're going to be in American Airlines Center in Dallas on October 2nd. And they just announced that on the Howard Stern show today. Just an FYI. Elton John, Katy Perry, Sam Smith, Lizzo. They're going to be they're doing a concert on June 14th coming up, which is you know, Ed Sheeran holds the record now for the highest grossing tour of all times with his Divide Trek that racked up over 775 million at stadiums and arenas from 2017 to 2019, and now he's back on the road with his I think it's called I can't remember, Mathematicians, something like that, which, you know, the guy's selling out wherever he goes. And I believe, isn't he using a Panther box?
Yep. They got the first big delivery of Panther.
Yeah, Major Tom.
Yep.
That's the name of the company that's doing it. Has anybody in the room seen Ed Sheeran?
No.
I have.
I hear he puts on a good concert.
We supplied some offstage hangs when they came through Seattle last time. Big show.
Is he? So he has a full band with him? Because I heard that he's just standing up there with just a looping system.
Him and a looper, and I think he might have like some kind of percussion pad that he hits with his foot. But that's it. There's no band.
And his sound guy does front of house and monitors from front of house.
Yeah.
Wow.
With a huge setup. I'm like, how do you use all that on one guy?
That really? What like what kind of stuff?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think he had a big Avid S6L or something. And there's tons of processing and routing, but there's so many speakers and zones and everything. So their whole power distribution thing was amazing, though. It's literally like all of the distro racks and all of the drive systems and all that stuff is built inside of this steel cage that is essentially like a really big pop-up tent. It's like a room, and you can just walk in the room and it's all done, and it's built at the beginning of the tour and it just goes. There aren't any racks to roll in and out, or they must move it in with a crane and they drop it down where they want it. And it has a cover over it so it can be rained on. And there's a door, you go inside. It's pretty nuts.
So does Ed Sheeran typically have an opening act, and is the opening act like a band of some sort?
The one I saw, I think it was a DJ. That's it.
Wow.
So, wow, how interesting.
People were totally.
I think he would have the actor, the actor that played Yesterday. You know, give him a, the guy that played Yesterday. Give him the opening slot on his tour. I guess you have to see the movie to understand what I'm talking about. All right, that's all right. Ed Sheeran was one of the stars of the movie.
I have a question on the power supply thing. On the really large productions like that, do they, now that digital's happening and your ground loops are nowhere near as bad and buzzes and hums and not, is it still a huge, do you still put a painstaking effort into doing star point power distribution for audio? Do they still focus on that nowadays? In other words, what I mean by star point, so it comes into one thing, so that the neutral and earth all span out from one point.
Right.
We usually just come off the house camlock services, on the stuff that we're doing. In stadiums, I think they're pretty much almost always on generators because they want to have absolute control of what their power is going to be.
Yeah, so they're all
Scoville's thing is all generators.
So they're all floating ground, or do they ground those?
Oh no, they ground them. I'm sure that the regulations, you have to have grounding rod. You can't do that.
Well, you can have the floating ground as long as everything, it's just like a normal ground. It's just that it floats. It hasn't got any connection to ground. The real ground. So they call it a pseudo ground, floating ground.
I don't know. Everything I see is either through a water pipe or driven into a rod into the ground.
Yeah. So the water pipe used to be classed as an earthing system, but since they've turned over, well, in Australia, a lot of plastic pipes that can't be used.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah. So, but I was just interested because back in when I started, and mine's only a little system, but I always used to do your neutral, or it started in one point, and your earth was in one point that went to the three phase. So you had your three phase dizzy, and then if you spread all your audio from there, you didn't get the hums and buzzes that you would if you picked it up from all over the place.
Well, all the lighting's pretty much LED now, and with Meyer, there's no neutral. So I haven't had a noise problem from lights in a really long time.
Yeah, and I think in major shows they use Jennies, which are completely separate for lighting, don't they?
Yes.
So because that used to be in the 80s, if you went to a club and you had 60 par cans and the MEN in the building wasn't good, dimmers were you're just your worst enemy.
Yeah, well, we always had to have separate power for the sound. In those days, we always have a separate electrical system. We would never go off the same grid that the lighting company was on. But that's the tech corner for today. I still have more things to talk about with concerts, so I'm going to keep going with that. Harry Styles has announced the new tour, it's called Love on Tour 2022, and he's going to be doing 10 shows at Madison Square Garden. That's pretty impressive. He's also going to be at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. And another really cool thing that happened is that U2's Bono and Edge, they performed in a Kiev subway station. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Yeah.
But they actually, that was so cool of them to do that. I thought that was pretty amazing. That's what that's what they were going to do, and so they risked their lives to go out there and perform for the people in a subway station. I thought that was really impressive. Another thing is that the leader of the band Pussy Riot, she escaped from Russia. So she'd been imprisoned, and then she was under home arrest, and she escaped by posing as to be a Grab food deliverer. If you see the pictures, we put the link in the chat as well so that you'll see that. Also, I think we're going to put maybe I'll put the links and what we discussed up on the friends of the Roundtable on LinkedIn. So if anybody misses that, they'll be able to get the links. Do you think I can do that? There shouldn't be a problem with that. Do you guys think if I put all these links up on LinkedIn, would that be a problem from the group point that LinkedIn would say you can't do that?
I can't imagine why that would be a problem. Can you?
Oh, that's why I'm asking. All right. Let's see. Moving on. Sterren is doing a charity right now. What they want to do is they want to raise some money to give service dogs to basically military people who have served the country. Right now, I guess the military people are that have served. A lot of them have the mental stress disorder, and service dogs are a great way to get them calmed down and to give them companionship. And so Sterren is doing a promotion, drive on GoFundMe. If you haven't seen that, I'd like to just, mention that, and we'll throw the link in if you want to. I donated a little bit of money to that. I think it's a good cause. So I just thought I'd throw that in. Another thing is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now has new members, including Dolly Parton, Eminem, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, Eurythmics, Duran Duran, and Pat Benatar. So, and if I remember correctly, she didn't want to be part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because she felt she wasn't a rock and roller, which I would happen to agree. What do you guys think of that?
Well, you got rappers in there too. That's not rock and roll. So
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the rappers that are in there. Who are the rappers?
Well, last year, LL Cool J was put in. Kevin.
I guess Eminem is not rock and roll either. I guess he's a rapper.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess it's a misnomer to be calling it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They expanded.
You could just call it the Music Hall of Fame, really.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I would call it. So from now on, I'm just calling it the Music Hall of Fame. And that's it. And it's in Ohio, if I remember correctly.
Cleveland.
Which is kind of strange because when you think of rock and roll, the first place you think of is not Cleveland.
Well, it was Alan Freed. He's the guy who coined the term rock and roll, and he was a Cleveland DJ.
There you go. David has the story. Good one, David.
Oh yeah. If you want some trivia, and don't play trivia with David. I'll tell you that you'll lose for sure. He has an amazing knowledge for all the minutia that's out there for life.
Does anybody not know who Alan Freed is? You never heard of Alan Freed? American Hot.
He was the one. Now, David has an interesting story about that because that's when David, I believe that was your first concert you ever went to, right?
It was the first concert that Alan Freed no longer was doing. He was doing these dance concerts where now they have Jingle Ball, where they have 20 acts and they all perform one or two songs, and they're all the top acts. Jennifer Lopez, all of them coming in, Ricky Martin, and back then it was Alan Freed was doing these dance shows. And then he got caught in a payola scandal. Back then, everybody paid to play. You want to play my song? Here's some money. And Alan Freed was the only one who actually didn't deny it. So he became the guy that was the scapegoat. And they drummed him out of the business. He was the major player. And then in New York, Murray the K, the big New York DJ, took over and had his very first concert that he did, which was a Christmas show with Jackie Wilson and the Shirelles and Bobby V, and all of the coasters in the Olympics and all these acts from back then, the Crystals. Murray the K put on the first show, and that's the very first concert I ever went to, which turned out to be a major part of my life. I ended up working with a bunch of the acts that were in that show, including the backing band, which was the Bobby Vinton Orchestra, before he had a hit single. Because he is a musician, he's a horn player, and so Murray the K put him in that show. Took him off the Dick Clark tour, and put him in that show. Anyway, that was Alan Freed. Kind of went off into history, but he was important enough that they made a movie called American Hot Wax about him. So that's it for today.
Well, you also mentioned Murray the K, and Murray the K, of course, was a huge supporter of the Beatles. I believe he was the first person to play the Beatles record in New York. He was a huge DJ at the time, and I would used to listen to him I believe he was like one of the first people. Was he on AM radio or did he go to FM? Was he one of the first people?
It was all AM back then. 1010 Wins New York. But Murray the K and Wolfman Jack were the two American DJs. And I don't know which one was bigger. Wolfman Jack was broadcasting from Mexico, so he had 500,000 watts, and he could, broadcast all over the Southwest. Murray the K was legal, and he was only 50,000 watts, but he was in New York, and so he was also broadcasting to 40 million people. and he was the guy. We all listened to him.
I remember as a kid, I would be, in bed with a little portable radio, and I would be trying to tune him in, and I would be listening to the Murray the K. And of course, I was a kid, and he was saying, "Hey, we're going to go down now to the submarine race watchers," and I couldn't understand. How could you watch a submarine race? What were they on top of? It's just, of course.
You're all around your girl, and you kind of pointed to the river, and you went, "Yeah, that's where they are."
I was too young in those days to know any better. But now, of course, I'm going to have to go down to the water and show Bo what the submarine races are. I'll say we'll go to submarine race watching. Cool. Anyway, festival goers are going back to the New Orleans Jazz Festival on May 5th. That was last week. But I heard that, what did I hear? That Willie Nelson had to cancel because he had COVID. Is that right, Steve? You want to say something about that? Do you know anything about it?
I know nothing about it. I didn't go to the fest this year.
See,
doing other things.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what they wrote in the paper. You can't believe everything you read. So, that's basically what it is. It's like, that was my excuse when I got stopped, in California, for going through a stop sign. And the guy said, "Didn't you see that stop sign?" And I said, "You can't believe everything you read. What can I say? So onward and upward. Austin is doing a big concert, and Austin is set to decriminalize marijuana and ban the no-knock warrants. So that's pretty cool in regards to that. And although it has nothing to do with COVID, I don't know why I have it in the COVID news section, but Moderna basically has authorized, they got authorization for children as young as 6 months old to be vaccinated, which is pretty cool. The FDA, did anybody get the Johnson & Johnson? Because it seems like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has the risk of giving rare blood clots to people known as Janssen, I guess. I'm not familiar with that, but that's what I heard. And we got 2 links if you're interested in finding that out. But if you've already had the Johnson & Johnson shot and you're alive, it really doesn't make a difference. The CDC says that 3 out of 4 kids and nearly 60% of adults in America have had the coronavirus already, which I thought was pretty interesting. A lot of us in the room have had it, and yet, we're all still alive, which is a good thing. Although plenty of people, we've lost plenty of people from that. And non-related to COVID though, but Mickey Gilly, who inspired the Urban Cowboy, he just died at 86. So rest in peace, Mickey Gilly. He's also got a club in Las Vegas, and the only news I have out of Las Vegas right now is what grows in Las Vegas doesn't stay in Las Vegas. It was the headline. And basically, Sin City just outlawed grass, and not the kind you think. Basically, because of the drought, Las Vegas now, it's illegal to have grass in your lawn. So everybody's going to have to convert to xeriscape, which I think is a smart idea due to the drought. When I first moved there, the first thing I did was convert to xeriscape. And it looks pretty good. It looks really, really nice.
So are you saying that's a law in Las Vegas, the city of Las Vegas, or is it all of Nevada, or what are we talking about?
I believe it's Las Vegas and Clark County, but I am not there, so I don't really know all the specifics. Maybe Tina knows a little bit more than I do.
That's interesting. And do you think it's for industrial as well as residential, or just residential only?
It says everywhere. Grass is banned everywhere right now. I mean, there's the drought in Las Vegas now.
So they're proclaiming that grass is a waste of water, basically. Grass is a waste of water.
Basically, it seems to me that the drought we're at an all-time level of drought, and it's going to get worse. They're predicting that if we don't do something soon, we're going to be raised. The temperature is going to be raised 1.5 degrees on a worldwide basis, and if that happens, then the ice caps in Antarctica and Antarctica are going to start melting, and that's going to start off killing off sea life, and it's going to be a disaster. It's basically something that, it's hard to justify that you're going to put your planet into extinction, because there's people that don't believe that. And there's no way we're going to get rid of fossil fuels. It's just not going to happen, not in a timely manner. I can't imagine. You know how many cars there are already in the world right now that require, fossil fuel, not to mention power plants, not to mention, I don't see any end to this, and I don't see a good ending. But the fortunate thing about that for me is that by the time it gets to the point where it's going to be, a life-threatening, I will be already gone. Because it's not going to happen till, in 50, 60 years from now. And I don't plan on being alive that many years. Although, if with new technology coming out every day, they might be able to clone your body and put your mind into it. And then, who knows what they're going to be able to do. It's crazy time.
Bottom line, Kenny, is that Lake Mead is now Pond Mead.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of it. It's very devastating.
They're finding old mob hits in there, in barrels and stuff.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, they found Jimmy Hoffa.
For real?
No.
Close.
Yeah, I think he's in Giant Stadium. I think Jimmy Hoffa is in Giant Stadium. He's part of the end zone. That's
It's part of the concrete.
Yeah, I mean, it's Yeah, I'm sure that he will never be found, and nobody will ever know where he is. I don't think that's ever going to happen. He's gone. He's gone. Hey, by the way, did you hear that the FDA announces plans to ban menthol cigarettes and cigars?
So what?
That's gonna.
Yes, I read that.
And why is that again?
Because it's addictive, and it basically is a way to get children started on smoking.
And on top of that, it's an interesting statistic, but a huge percentage of Black people smoke menthols, like 60% or something. And so those people are, as a class, are getting cancer at higher rates.
And you know what, sir? So do guys. I don't know. When was the last time you were in loading a semi? You're puffing menthols for the entire time. So yeah.
Well, didn't they ban some of the vaping, the flavored vapes now in the United States? I believe that's, and I don't believe vaping is not legal here in Thailand either, I believe. But I'm pretty sure that they banned the vapes, the flavored vapes.
They went after the young people for that, because the young people were vaping flavors, and the Black people were vaping menthols. I mean, they did it for everybody, but that's just an amazing statistic. Like almost 2/3 of cigarettes that Black people smoke are menthols.
Right.
Well, it's a big market. I
blame Kurt, Jan. I mean, that's it. It's all you. It's all you Northwest folks.
Well, I don't blame anybody. But Kurt, you want to defend yourself against Greg, you're more than welcome to.
I'll do that offline.
That's good. That's good.
The Thailand legalizing it all, is it for commercial? Like, can they export it? Is it a commercial decision? Are they trying to tax it? Is it a revenue source for the government, or what's?
It's a revenue source for the government. It's for medical purposes only, and no commercialization, except if you get a commercial license. So the average person won't get a commercial license, But you'll be able to grow. The climate here for grow marijuana has got to be off the hook. It's just got to be, you put the seeds in the ground, and you just come back in 3 months and you got a huge plant. I would bet that the soil here is just perfect for growing marijuana.
I wouldn't be surprised if they legalize it for export once they realize the money they can make.
Well, I know one thing: if they do legalize it, then my girlfriend's got acres of agricultural land up in Chupon, and I know the next plant we're going to be, the next crop we're going to be going for would be a marijuana crop, rather than palm oil and coconuts. I would think that would be a huge moneymaker for us.
So that'd be
Yeah.
weedbroker.com.
Say that again.
Be weedbroker.com.
Yeah, weedbroker.com. Yeah, me and
You
me
better
and
get
Belushi,
that. Is that already?
me and Jim Belushi?
Yeah, you better get that one before somebody else does.
It's too late. If you thought of it, somebody else thought about it already.
If the sheep and the cows started grazing, how would they feel?
They would. Hey, look, they're already called buffaloes for a reason. I don't know why, but that's how they mow their grass here. They don't have, they just set the buffaloes loose, and the buffaloes eat the grass. It's an amazing system, and it works really well. It works really, really well.
Belated, Jan, sir. Belated happy birth anniversary.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It was, it's like, I really appreciate it. This was a weird year for me, as I spoke about last week, about how all the anxiety I have about thinking about what life is all about for me. There were certain birthdays that hit me harder than others. And this particular birthday hit me really hard. But now that it's in the past, I'm back to normal. And, it's good. I feel happy I'm alive. I feel, well rested most of the time, except for Wednesday afternoons at 4. I'm gonna have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to prepare for this show. Other than that, everything's cool. I'm a pretty happy guy, right now. Life
we should
is.
get on Vince's show tomorrow. Yeah.
I think, didn't I? What do you mean, get on Vince's show tomorrow?
Vince is trying to be like the Johnny Carson of rock and roll.
Well, I've already been interviewed by Vince, and it was and he had high ratings from me, which is really good. And then David and I just did another show called Party Like a Rock Star. If you haven't seen that, and we're getting good reviews on that as well.
Because that's what you guys do. When I think of partying like a rock star, who do I think of? Jan and David, of course.
Yeah.
Kenny, I wanted you involved in that interview too. I wanted it to be the three of us, but unfortunately, Manilow had other plans for you, so you couldn't do it. Or was it Milken?
Yeah. Well, Ken's interview was quite impressive, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks, Greg. I didn't mean for it to be impressive, but it was just fun. We were just chatting.
You just can't help yourself.
Well, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool, sir. Thank you.
Anyway, so I've got 2 more news stories regarding medicines and planets and stuff like that. One is there's a meteor with ties to DNA that's going to give us a clue about the origin of life on Earth. And so basically, let's see, the present results may not directly educate the origin of life on Earth, OBA, as said to NBC News, but I believe that they can improve our understanding of the inventory of organic molecules of the early Earth before the onset of life. So that is pretty cool that they've got that. It's just amazing to me how they do that. And also, be careful, everybody. There's a tick now that makes people allergic to red meat, and it's spreading in the Northeast United States. So that is something to be very careful about, and we'll throw the link up on that just so you know what the tick looks like and whatever. The other thing is that I play pickleball, and pickleball has become one of America's fastest growing sports. And basically, pickleball sales were up last year 40%. 40% from the year before. But I guess, anything, in that respect, it would seem to me to make sense because people weren't playing it as much until, they were playing more sports, other different sports. And then when COVID came, everybody needed some exercise to get outside rather than to go to the gym. And pickleball is a really low impact sport that's really good for you and it makes you feel good.
Yep, it's just because you and Bo are really good at it, Jan, now. Come on.
Yeah, well, Bo won't play. Bo thinks it's too slow. She prefers ping pong over pickleball. You know, she likes ping pong. So there you have it. Anyway, let's see. What else did I want to bring up before we just open it up? Let's see. John Doerr, a billionaire. Now John Edelson's not in the room, and I really picked this story for him. But John Doerr, a billionaire venture capitalist, is giving Stanford University $1.1 billion to open a school focused on climate change. You know, so there you go. So there is some hope there as well. I know we all do a lot of traveling, and basically the U.S. passport office is way behind. And so they are recommending that if your passport is going to be expiring, don't wait till the last minute or you won't have a passport. So take care of your passport as quickly as you possibly can if it's getting close towards expiring. And
Agreed. I'm in the queue, sir. I can't go anywhere.
What are they telling you?
11 weeks.
11 weeks. Wow.
Yeah, I was told
on
that.
expedite.
Got it quick.
Pardon?
6 weeks we got ours.
Yeah, Steve. I tell you what, they're slammed. And so what do? Just, buy yourself a case of Budweiser, whatever,
Well, the last time that I needed my passport updated, it took one day. I went to I was in Miami, and I was going out of the country, and I wanted to get my passport extended. And I went down there. I went there one day, and the next day I went and picked it up. And that was, I guess that was about 4 or 5 years ago.
You went into the office, right? Did the office thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You could still do the office thing, but you know what? I ain't flying soon, till I go to Bhutan. And I'll wave at you, Jan.
Thanks. I would like that very much. But I'm planning on being back in Las Vegas sometime after June 22nd. That's when Bo and I go to the U.S. Immigration here in Thailand, in Chiang Mai, to see if we can get her a visa. And I'm pretty sure she's going to get it. And so we'll be heading to Las Vegas, and where I will have to do some cleanup of my personal stuff, so that I can make a decision what to do with my personal stuff in Las Vegas. Maybe have a nice yard sale. That's it. Get rid of all my personal stuff. So
if you've got a yard, you can probably sell that too.
Yeah, probably. So, all right. So speaking of that, and that brings us to an interesting point. And this is an article in the New York Times that for tens of millions American, the good times are right now, and their houses are piggy banks. And so it's kind of interesting that if you have a house right now, the values of the houses are going up. And I wonder, being in Las Vegas where there's a water shortage, what that's going to do to the property value, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting it at all, except raising the prices,
You know what, Jan? Yeah. I mean, with the greatest of respect, you ain't going to live in Vegas anymore. You got the Southeast Asia bug. And
yeah, but it's an interesting thing, and here's what it is. Yes, I do have it, and it's really nice. But I came here for a reason. When I was living in Las Vegas, I was lonely. I was lonely, and there was nobody that, being a 70-year-old man or 68-year-old, 69, being in a dating pool was like, being in the Dead Sea. It was a horrible situation. The only women that were interested in me.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the only people that were interested in me were people who looked at me as their piggy bank, speaking of piggy banks, or women that were in, at least 10 years older than me, because women my age were looking for younger men. So it was very difficult for me, and the dating pool was I was spending a lot of time alone, and I didn't like it. And I knew from past experience that being in Asia, that the age difference of is not that great. It just, people don't care about it as much as they do in America. And Bo, although she's not quite, what is she? She's 37. So it's not a bad age for, and in Thailand, at 37, that's not the same life expectancy that you have in the United States. So it makes things a lot different. And she appreciates me for who I am, and I appreciate her for who she is. And we have a great relationship. But now that I have her in my life, it really doesn't matter where we live, because I have somebody in my life. So, and in Las Vegas, if you've lived here long enough, you know that things are really nice in Thailand. I mean, it's beautiful. The people are beautiful. The land itself is beautiful. The scenery is beautiful. The ecology is beautiful. Everything here is, it's just picturesque and gorgeous. Cheaper. The food is amazing everywhere. You could go into the 7-Eleven and it's equivalent to most restaurants. The food in the 7-Eleven is equivalent to most restaurants. And, I had a meal at McDonald's the other day, and I was blown away how good it was compared to McDonald's in the United States. The other thing is, of course,
Red Bull in little bottles.
Yes. And the other thing that I will say is that, and you brought it up, the money is amazing. Right now, it's over 34 to 1, which is a spectacular exchange rate, considering it really offsets inflation. By the way, speaking of inflation, and there is an article in the New York Times, and I don't have the link for it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it basically shows you, it's a questionnaire kind of form that you plug in what you're doing in your life, and it tells you exactly what rate your inflation is, because basically they just announced the inflation number is about 8%, but that's not for everybody. That's just a generalization, and it doesn't include housing prices, I believe, or it basically is more or less just includes durable goods where it's at. So, but there is a great article, and I'll try to find that link, and you just plug in the question, you just answer the questions, and it gives you the answers about what your inflation rate is, which is, pretty cool in that respect. Anyway, but is it tough out there? Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends, and he just got a pre-declined credit card in the mail. So I thought that was pretty impressive that it was pre-declined. Some of the CEOs, it's so bad right now that CEOs are now reverting to playing miniature golf. And you think the oil business was good, but ExxonMobil just laid off 25 congressmen. I mean, in Las Vegas, my next door neighbor, he's down to only one wife now. Got
$1 million of them.
And by the way, McDonald's. Speaking of McDonald's. They basically, to handle inflation, they are now offering a quarter ouncer. So you can go into McDonald's and get a quarter ouncer. Let's see. You think it's bad? You think it's really bad for you? Angelina Jolie just adopted a child from America. I mean, really.
And Dan Landley is now following up on your late night show.
Yes. I mean, hey, look, it's so bad in Beverly Hills that they're firing the nannies in record numbers. And now for the first time, the parents are learning their children's names. I mean, this is impressive stuff that we're,
have we come to now? Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you heard about this, but a truckload, listen to this.
Live, Jan, you're live everywhere.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, but they just found a truckload of Americans that were caught sneaking into Mexico. I mean, really.
And I mean, you got to do a gig here soon with somebody, and we got a comedian Jan and we're on the same line with Chef Kurt. So what do you do, man?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to tell you something. It's like a friend of mine told me that he was really depressed. He was so depressed. He was thinking about the economy, his job, his savings, his Social Security, and he called the suicide hotline. But he got the call center in Afghanistan, and when he told them how depressed he was and he was suicidal, they got all excited and asked him if he could drive a truck. So I just thought I would throw that in.
And
Yeah,
after 102 sessions, SoundBroker.
Exactly. How many?
And in Las Vegas, it's pretty bad. Treasure Island Casino is now managed by the Somali pirates. That's how bad it is over there.
Well, David, I think Mr. Landry has had probably one more cappuccino than he should have.
Yeah. Hey, look, I was looking at the blue book, on the value, and now the question, they ask you the age of the car, they ask you the mileage, and now they're asking if the gas tank is full or empty. I think that's the sign of the times as well. But to really cap it off, the sign of the times, a picture is now only worth 200 words. So there you have it.
We're down a big rabbit hole, sir.
Hey, listen, I seriously, folks, I got a call from someone who claimed that I sold some of his stuff in 2005, and he called me up and he wants to know if I have any pictures of the listing from 2005, which I just couldn't find them I couldn't find them anywhere, but I did look, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, 2005. Yeah. I mean, come on. I was not in a good place then. I was pushing purple boxes around and wishing I had a flipping gamble. And I had to deal with a stage 1 digicode,
If
Like
only
a
you knew.
D5,
If only you knew Kurt in those days, he would have had one, I'm sure.
We're fine.
Hey, look, one more interesting thing that I want to point out to you guys, and because this will affect everyone. Changes for consumers were made jointly by the credit rating companies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and they're all doing the same thing. So basically, from now on, paid medical collection debt will no longer be included on the consumer credit report. The time period before unpaid medical collection debt will appear on a consumer's report will decrease from 6 months to 1 year, and medical debt collection of accounts under at least $500 will no longer be included on that. So just an FYI, Experian is making some changes, which is pretty cool. And last but not least, that I'm going to tell you in regarding to SoundBroker, because if you've listened this far, basically the exciting part about this is that the most looked at and most viewed items on SoundBroker is a D&B, the Meyer Panther, a mobile stage, Digico SD7, and that's about those are the top highlites of what's
used Panthers. That's not even.
It's not used Panther. We are Meyer dealers,
okay.
So people are interested in that, and basically right now Meyer is not even publishing the prices of what it is, as we all know, which is kind of interesting.
Well, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to hearing Kurt with Myers and Gambles.
Me too.
Yeah, I guess we all are, aren't we?
I'll have to put it in a truck and drive it to each one of you. Well, might be a little hard to get to Wayne.
Yeah, it would be. Anyway, So let's open it up for anybody. Anybody have anything they want to say? We've been going on for about an hour now. So if there's anybody that has anything that they want to say to the social media world, this would be now the time to do it.
Scoville's doing it right.
What do you mean by that?
That's, yeah. Cohesions are okay, actually. The low end sucks at 160 and below, but everything above, yeah, they're doing it right.
What he's doing Kenny Chesney? Is that the act he's out with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a post by him that he thought it was going to be a lot different doing country, but when I saw that picture, he seems to think it's a lot more complicated than he thought it was going to be when he got involved in. By the way, speaking of Scoville, did he change his meeting from Friday to Tuesday?
Yeah, it's on Tuesdays now, Jan. Tuesday,
Right.
7 o'clock.
Tuesday, 7 o'clock your time.
Well,
4 o'clock my time.
4:20 Pacific time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way in hell that I'm going to wake up 2 days in a row early like that to go, if he wants me on the show,
you
he's going to have to make it earlier or later.
How many early calls have you had, Mr. J?
Well, here's the deal.
On.
Every time I get up like this, I feel like I'm going to the airport. That's what it is. It's like when I wake up this time, I say, oh my God, it's like I got to catch a plane. That's how I feel. It's like, like I'm tired, but I'm going to make it happen. That's it, because I'm not going to miss my plane. I'm going to get to the airport 2 hours early. That's where it's at. So that's how I feel about it.
This is one of the very few meetings that I can see, David, Kenny, and Kurt all in the same room, esteemed engineers. So.
Well, we're honored to have their presence. It's kind of interesting because look, we're all, articulate people. We have a lot of things on our mind. There's so many shows that just deal with technical aspects of our industry. And I made a distinct decision, especially when we started, to make this more light and more fun-hearted and more of an open conversation about how the world is affecting us as people and through our industry, rather than, the technical aspect of it. Although every once in a while we will get into the technical aspect of sound, light, staging, or video,
So Jan, I got a question. How much market share for the manufacturers that we're all familiar with is being affected by not being able to sell into Ukraine or Russia, or our companies not selling into Russia?
Well, Meyer was selling into Russia, and I'm sure they're affected, but they were selling into China. And I think it's what's really happening right now is China is being the China market. If you're not following what's happening there, China has cracked down on COVID. They have a zero tolerance policy. And so Shanghai's been closed for weeks. Beijing is now closing. So there's no port activity. And China, of course, we get so much of our stuff from China, and so does the world. So right now, that is affecting everybody. So if you have a client in China and you're trying to sell them something, they can't buy anything because, first of all, they're not going to work. Number two, there's no way to get it through the port system, and so there's going to be a backlog. It's going to be a tremendous backlog right now of a lot of things that we're going to see, and that's also a problem for the global economy. Now, as far as Ukraine and Russia, I don't see Russia as ever being a big target market, nor Ukraine being a target market for our industry. However, having said that, it's also affecting the oil prices. It's also affecting the grain prices because, believe it or not, Ukraine is a huge grain producer. And basically, if they can't get that grain out, there's going to be some huge problems in the world as far as hunger. I mean, if they can't produce as much wheat as the world needs in that area, there's going to be plenty of people that are going hungry. And so that's something that we have to think about. Not so much about the gear, but it's not affecting us on a moment to moment basis as it is on the big picture basis of what our lives are about. I hope I answered that question for you.
Kurt, I will say to you, sir, I'm having a hard time getting 24 Leos into the Kingdom of Bhutan that have to go, through Thailand and then north. Forget trying to go through India, but it's tough right now.
I just figured Ukraine's a pretty big place, and it's got several large population centers. There has to be some kind of an entertainment industry there, even though it's probably not tied to what we do. But from a manufacturing point of view, I mean, are they using Yamaha consoles? Are they using Fire?
No, last time I was there, Kurt, it was CLs. You're right. And SQs, no DLies.
Right, but still.
Well, let's look at the bright side. When the war is over, there's going to be a ton of money to be made in Ukraine because basically, the cities have been destroyed, so they're going to have to build them up from scratch. That means there's going to be a lot of new venues. There's going to be a lot of gear requirements over there as well. So it's not going to be forever. It is a temporary thing, and I'm sure it's going to. I mean, look, I don't know how long a war can last. Especially in this time and age, but basically it's been going on 70 something days, and from what you read, and who knows what we're actually hearing is accurate or not accurate, because we don't know for sure because we're not there. But the reality is, it seems like the Ukrainians are taking a beating like crazy. I mean, you look at their cities being destroyed, and yet they're still fighting on, and it looks like they're pushing the Russians back. And I heard some commentators say that the Russians might be standing on their soil for now, but they ain't going to be standing there long. And especially now, the president of the United States requested $30 billion to assist Ukraine, and Congress voted $40 billion. So, and that's going to increase that money is all going to be spent in military armaments and, Boeing and Halliburton, big companies like that. And that money is going to trickle down to the people in the United States. So
there's experts saying that Putin would rather de-escalate but keep it going on a low level in order to say that they're still at war rather than have it end and lose. He can't lose. So it'd be better for him to keep it going for 10 years than to lose.
So I read one headline that said that they're rebuilding as fast as they're getting shut down, in Ukraine. I don't know if I believe that, how much they're rebuilding, but I did see that headline.
Yeah.
Well, they're being strangled. The Russian economy is being strangled right now. And I just read some article that now with the new weapons that Ukraine is getting, they're actually going to be able to start attacking in Russia. So they're going to be starting to bomb Russian targets, and it's going to be super hard for Putin to be able to hide that fact once cities in Russia are starting to feel the
pain,
the horrors of war. That's really what it is. It's a horror war.
What does that do to Ukraine's moral high ground that they're capitalizing on in the world right now?
Yeah.
Well, basically,
valid point, sir.
Yeah, basically what's happening is they're pushing them back, and they got to push them back so that they don't come back in. It's not like they're attacking Moscow.
Then it's hard to be as sympathetic. Not necessarily for me. I think that globally it might be as hard to be as sympathetic for them once they're on a counteroffensive and they're in Russian territory.
Well, they're only attacking the convoy lines so that they can't get supplied in Ukraine. In other words, they're trying to stop all of that, the armaments and the fuel and everything else that's coming to support the troops from getting to the troops. So basically, that's the only way that really, it seems to me that it's a logical solution. If you can cut off the head, you cut off the head, then the tail will die as well,
Well, yeah, there is a red line, Kurt.
Yeah, no. If they bomb the Kremlin, yeah, I would think that there would be a lot of. I think there would be a lot of their support would be lost.
Right.
But I don't see them doing that anytime soon. You know, I mean,
it's best if they bomb the Kremlin, Jan. It's best for all of us on this feed to give $55 million to Mr. Musk and say, excuse me, beam me up, Scotty. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that it would seem to me that they would probably be better off trying to figure out how to get, how to get into, anyway, I don't have any ideas about this. I'm a peace-loving guy. What do I know about war? I joined the, to avoid fighting in Vietnam, I joined the National Guard, and I was stationed on Park Avenue and I think 63rd Street, where I had to deliver the mail, when the postal union went on strike, which I didn't do.
In theaters, sir. And,
I believe in make love, not war. Make love, not war is what I believe in. So I don't have any clue on what it's like to be in the military any longer or fighting a battle. And I just know that I'm glad that I'm not in that position. That's one thing I do know. I am glad that I don't have to deal with it. But I do know that there's a lot of people here in Thailand that have been really inconvenienced, that, all of a sudden they have no money, they have no place to live, they have no insurance, they have nothing. And, just like overnight out of nothing. And then those people, the poor people that are living in like a city called Maripol, I mean, God, their life is completely destroyed of what normal is. And so I feel sorry for them, but it's not just there. Yeah. There's plenty of places in the world where war is going on right now. And it just seems incredible that that's happening. So anyway, with that in mind,
the great thing that happened to me, Jan, sir, I heard one of member mixes many years ago, and I see the smile on your face. Yes, Mr. Newsom's mixes. Yeah. I was out with Miss Streisand, and he was out with, who you were out with then.
Sinatra. He's done so many names. He's done Sinatra. He's done Palenka.
I'm an old Sinatra guy. I did Sinatra at the Albert. So yeah, he's shaking Sinatra's hands.
Yes.
He's also shaking Babs's hands. So yeah.
Kenny, did you do the Rat Pack tour? Was that a tour you did?
No,
David,
that was Tom Young.
Yep.
Oh.
I was
you didn't do that?
too.
Anyway, well, listen, let's say goodbye to those people on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all other social media, Twitter. If we're on Twitter, I don't even know if we are. But anyway, I want to thank you all for paying attention and watching and being participants. And just remember, we meet again next week. It will be the 104th meeting. You're more than welcome to join us. Just DM me on any of the social media platforms. We'll send you a link on how to be here. Remember, everything that you heard today is an opinion, so do your own research. And with that in mind, I want to wish you all a very happy and a healthy week ahead of you, and to remind you that you make it happen. So go out and make it happen, and we will see you again next week. Bye, everybody, and thank you. Oh, by the way, one other thing. If you happen to just remember the Friends of the Roundtable on LinkedIn discussion group, you can just say whatever you want, anytime you want about things. That's available for you. And just give us a thumbs up and a like and subscribe. We're almost up to 300 members on the YouTube channel. So, hey, thanks for watching, and I really appreciate it. Have a great week.